This is March, the greatest time of the year. Happy Saturday, Nashville. 4's Company, 1025, 1063. The game brought to you by LPL Financial Nashville and Patrick Conger. Financial planning for tomorrow so that you can enjoy today. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Jake Lyman, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman with you today. We are without Dr. Crane, as he is out enjoying rugby and darts in Las Vegas. I don't know if there are darts out there, but I'm sure that he's
probably doing something.
He's keeping up with the darts for sure. So no Dr. Crane today. We've just got three of us. We are with you till 10:30, leading you right up to Nashville Predators pregame coverage from New York, as they've got the early game on this Saturday. Big day on 102.5. We got Preds. We've got Vanderbilt men's basketball playing Missouri. Should be fun. We got a good show for you today. Going to talk some Titans. We're going to talk some college basketball, of course, as we have entered the madness of March. But first, let's get to our headlines. Connor Newt, what you got for us this morning?
Well, welcome to the greatest month in sports.
It's the best.
It's the best behind October. But, I mean, it's been a big week for my Wildcats. But how about them on Wednesday? Taking down Oklahoma, who's not a great team, in Norman.
Oklahoma only has 4 SEC wins, and they're on the bubble, which is crazy.
That's wild. Wild to think about. Just a bad game from Kentucky to start out. Lamont Butler and Jackson Robinson come back into play. But the man I want to talk about is Otega Owe. Scoring, the only Wildcat to score in the last 13 minutes of the game. Scored 28 points, including the shot that sealed it all. Just some circus-level stuff. Drive it into the rim, hitting the shot at the buzzer. Or not the buzzer. It was like 1 second left, and then they blocked it to win. Brandon Garrison with a block to win. Then we move to Thursday, and the Lady Cats take down the Lady Vols by 24.
And it was more than that for a while there.
Yeah, it was like a 30-point game.
They were up big.
Yeah.
I was looking at that because I do the out-of-town scoreboard at halftime, and I went through. Tennessee was shooting like 28% from the floor midway through the third quarter.
Clara Strack, the big center, I think she was 11 of 11, maybe 13 of 13 with 21 points. She didn't miss a shot, and then had 13 rebounds. So she had a double-double pretty easily.
She's Kenny's new mini Kitley.
Yeah. Can I just say thank you for Georgia Amore? I mean,
she's ridiculous.
I want to marry her.
I got to watch Georgia through the first 3 years of her career, most of 3 years. And I mean, you knew from the second she stepped on campus that she was going to be really good.
She's going to be a star.
She's an All-American. There's a good chance she might be SEC Player of the Year.
She's going to be a star. I mean, I'm assuming she's going to go pro after this season.
Yeah, she's at eligibility.
She'll be a star. She'll light up that league.
I mean, if you didn't pay attention 2 years ago, the Final Four run for Virginia Tech, Elizabeth Kitley was great, but Georgia Amore was the star on that run.
She's a great scorer, first of all, but she's a true point guard.
Yeah.
And she just facilitates the floor. If you're open, she's going to find you. She's like a quarterback.
Yeah. And
she's unreal.
Kentucky, after that win, I believe, has slid up to the 3 line in a lot of the bracketology stuff.
They're guaranteed a 4.
They're going to host now. Yes.
Yeah.
There will be games in Lexington. So that'll be fun. I think the SEC might get 6 or 7 teams hosting, which is
deep
crazy.
In the women's game too.
It's deep on both sides. Not quite 13 teams making the NCAA tournament, but they're probably going to be 10, which is tough to do. Jake Wallman, what is your headline this morning?
First of all, good morning to you both.
Good morning.
My headline is, I was scrolling X yesterday, and I saw something pretty interesting that I'm wondering if it's going to become a thing. Hard Knocks is, I don't want to say it's a dying brand.
But it's a dying brand.
Yeah, I mean, teams are kind of really dodging that smoke that they bring to camp. So guess where they're taking their talents?
Chapel Hill.
Chapel Hill with Chapel Bill.
I mean, there was zero chance that an NFL team was going to do the offseason Hard Knocks again after what happened to Joe Shane last year.
Yeah. He ruined it for everyone.
I mean, Joe Shane, the comment about, what are we paying Daniel Jones $40 million a year for? We're not paying him to hand it off to a $20 million a year running back. And then Saquon putting up 2,000 yards Like,
And then his son basically tells him, don't
Right.
draft Malik Neighbors.
yeah.
Draft who do you say? Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, he said draft Jaden Daniels. And the John Mara saying, I'm not going to sleep well if he goes to the Eagles.
Yeah.
Like, there is no NFL team that was going to sign up and say, yeah, I want to put myself under that spotlight. So I think that was really their only option, was to go find a college team.
I was scared they were coming here, especially if Shedeur Sanders would come
I
here.
bet they're coming here for the actual Hard Knocks, for the training camp Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
But that's down the road. I will say, if the Titans take a quarterback, I would bet they come here.
Yeah.
But no one was going to do the offseason one again after what happened to the Giants last season.
I'm actually a fan of the one that they do in season. I've kind of grown to like that one.
Yeah, and it is kind of funny because pretty much every team they do it with collapses immediately.
Yeah.
I know they did the full division this year, so it was a little bit different. But the Colts 3 years ago, when they just fell apart down the stretch and Carson Wentz blew it in Jacksonville in Week 17. The Cardinals, I believe, were the year after that.
Yeah.
And they weren't even close to making the playoffs. The Dolphins, that was the year that they lost to the Titans and then fell apart and lost the division the last week of the season to the Bills. So, like, no one's going to want to do Hard Knocks because it seems to only go bad when you let the NFL Films crew just be in your locker room and in your facility.
I'm just not a fan of I think every season is the exact same, especially at training camp. It's like, well, Patrick Mahomes is showing his prowess on the field, but for 7th round pick Joe Schmo, things are a bit harder. And then we go into like a detail of some 7th round pick we'll never hear from again's life.
It's like Joe Schmo played his college football at Montana State, and he was the 3rd stringer for most of the year, but he's getting a chance on the practice squad.
Like, I don't really care.
Well, and the second part of my headline is, I wonder if we see more of this from college teams. I mean, do you think that's
you could, and because I think
they're getting their own thing though. Like, especially in the SEC, I know they're doing a Netflix documentary.
Oh yeah, they are.
Yeah,
I forgot
they were here for Vandy beating Bama apparently from like start to finish. So I can't wait to watch that.
Yeah, I think that thing though, like it's kind of the lower end SEC teams. Like, I think Alabama's not in it, Mizzou's not in it, Georgia's not in it.
Interesting,
which is weird. But I'm in favor because I get to see my team suck.
That comes out this summer, I think, is what I saw.
I think something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But we're going to see more and more stuff like this, because especially in college, because the brand exposure, you're going to be able to get more recruits if it's like, hey, we're on Hard Knocks. And, I'm sure people will want to go to the Tar Heels.
Would you like to be on HBO Max?
My headline this morning, it is March, and that means we're getting to the madness. Some of the biggest madness this weekend won't happen on the basketball court. It will happen
in a Starbucks in Indianapolis.
That too, but with a coin toss by Commissioner Greg Sankey. Have you seen this?
I haven't.
So on the women's side in the SEC, there is a tie at the top. South Carolina and Texas are both 14-1, likely going to win their final game on Sunday and both be 15-1, and their only losses are to each other. So therefore, there is no way to break that tie. So on Sunday, as long as both the teams win their games and it's still tied, at halftime of the LSU Ole Miss game, Commissioner Greg Sankey is going to flip a coin to decide who is the 1 seed in the SEC tournament.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, there's no other way to break the tie.
Not even strength of schedule?
Well, they play the same schedule. They played every other team once, and they played each other twice and split it.
Oh, my.
And this is at what game?
So both South Carolina and Texas play earlier in the day. LSU Ole Miss, I think, tips off at 4 or 3, somewhere around there.
Like that.
And so at halftime of that game, Greg Sankey is going to flip a coin to decide who the 1 seed is.
I mean,
I can just imagine Greg Sankey sitting in his office, and he's he's looking at the standings, and he goes, "How can I make this about me?"
Yeah, well, I guess he's the person who it makes. They should have Feinbaum flip the coin.
Greg Sankey's the kind of guy to flip his coin and not catch it. It just lands on the floor.
Greg Sankey was actually at the Vandy women's game on Thursday night.
I'm sure that was riveting.
Oh wait, it bounced.
Yeah. lands in his coffee.
I've looked at the process. Apparently, he is supposed to catch it on the back of his hand, and there's a Gamecock logo on one side and a Longhorn logo on the other. And whoever it comes up as is the 1 seed, the other is the 2.
Thank you for detailing how a coin flip wins.
It's important because the loser would have to play LSU in the semifinal, while the winner probably gets Kentucky, which, I mean, not that Kentucky's not good, but I think there's a different talent level between LSU and Kentucky.
If we're doing tiers, those are probably the A tier, Kentucky's high-end B tier.
Right. So I thought that was interesting because you always look at these tiebreaker things where eventually it gets to a coin flip. Like, that always has to be the last, because if these teams are identical, there has to be a way to break the tie, and it's a coin toss. We're actually going to get one on Sunday, most likely, unless there's
going to be
upset.
on film.
Yeah, no, it's on SEC Network.
Okay,
so you can tune in and watch the coin flip live if you want to.
I think we should bet. We should place some bets on. Well, you can't. I will.
Is that an open market?
This is an open market. We're going to set the line at minus 350 for Ole Miss, or sorry, South Carolina.
That's heavy juice on a 50-50 coin toss.
Easy money. Easy money.
Plot twist: Greg Sankey pulls out the 2020, the quarter that was made in 2020 with the Delaware State logo on it.
Yeah,
this is a paper clip.
Well, that could be a great moment on Sunday in March, which brings us to our question of the day. What is your favorite March Madness moment in college basketball?
If I hear either of you mention Oakland or St. Peter's, I will walk out of the studio and never come back.
We'll have to see if that happens at 10 o'clock.
We'll better not.
We'll give our answers.
I can't disclose who my favorite moment is, but Kentucky is definitely a top 3.
My favorite moment is all of Tennessee's Final Fours.
Wow.
That joke is as tired as the coal mines joke.
No, not really.
Yes,
this
is.
This one actually makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to chime in. Again, our question of the day: what is your favorite March Madness moment of all time? We will get to all the answers coming up at 10 o'clock. Again, a little bit of a shorter show today. We'll be off the air at 10:30, leading you right into Predators pregame coverage as they are in New York today. Early game on a Saturday. We'll lead you right up to Robbie Stanley and his pregame coverage coming up again at 10:30. Coming up, we're going to talk about the Titans. It is Combine Week out in Indianapolis. No Cam Ward, no Shedeur Sanders working out today with the quarterbacks. But what did we learn from Brian Callahan and Mike Borgonzi as they spoke at the Combine earlier this week? We'll talk about that coming up next here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. 4's Company, 1025, 1063 The Game. Jake Lyman, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman, off and running on this Saturday morning. Again, we're leading you up till 10:30. Preds pregame coverage from New York. Well, actually, pregame coverage from here with Robbie Stanley. We'll get you up there with Max Hers and Hal Gill. But we're going to talk some Titans here. I do want to remind you our question of the day. What is your favorite March Madness moment, as it is March 1st? We're getting close to the greatest college basketball month of the year. Well, actually, we're in it now. But we want to hear what your favorite moment is. And you can text or call 615-737-1025. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's talk some Titans. It is Combine Week up at Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis. And the Titans are probably one of the biggest stories up there as they hold the number 1 pick. What are they going to do with it? And the quarterbacks are not working out today, but we did get to hear from them. We got to hear from the head coach and the GM. And I think we learned a little bit, although it is lying season. So who really knows?
Everyone's good.
Right.
The bad teams don't know they're bad yet.
And the Titans talked up pretty much everybody. Talked up the edge class. They talked up, man, Travis Hunter. He's such a special player. The quarterbacks both have put themselves into the conversation to be the number 1 pick. So I think there's a lot to like about this class. And I think the Titans have done a nice job of not really showing their hand at which way they're going to go.
Yeah, I really liked listening to that press conference. But what I got from that is the draft board's set. They know who they want at 1, or maybe not at 1. Maybe they are working on something to trade down. But there's been speculation as to where they're going to go. Are they going to go quarterback? If they're going quarterback, are they going Cam Ward, Shador? They're going to go edge. Abdul Carter got hurt.
Right. Stress fracture in his foot.
Big story this week. He's not going to require surgery, which I'm in the camp of I'm not super freaking out about his injury, but I would not draft him at 1.
And Jared Stillman has said this week that if he doesn't work out at his pro day, he would take him off the board completely.
I forgot Jared was in the full control of the Titans draft board.
Which, yeah, I mean, obviously that means nothing to what the Titans would do. But
he knows I love him.
I also agree that the Titans shouldn't be in the business of taking injured players with valuable picks.
No, I agree.
There is no more valuable pick than number 1 overall. I get it. They're going to get their doctors. Like Abdul Carter is going to come here and he's going to have a medical evaluation by the Titans doctors. So they will be able to tell you one way or the other.
Do we trust the Titans doctors?
I mean, yeah,
though?
Caleb Farley came in here.
Farley. Look, recently, L'Jarius Sneed came in here.
He's
a different story.
Sneed is different because it wasn't his knee. It was the quad. But
we still don't know what the hell was wrong with it and why he sat the rest of the season out.
Yeah, it's strange. But I was telling you, Connor, that I am in on Cam Ward at number 1. It's taken me a little bit here. Yeah.
Chips in the middle.
I think it's been a slow, gradual process because when the Titans first got the number 1 pick, I would have taken Sanders over Ward. But as new and more information has come out and I've actually kind of watched these players, I think Cam Ward is, and I saw this yesterday, I think the gap is pretty wide between Ward and the next best quarterback in the draft. You look at the way Cam Ward plays the game. Yes, there are some stupid plays in there. But, and I've said this before, it's not Will Levis type stupid. It's even though the results are the same, sometimes they do it in very different ways. And I think Cam Ward is more coachable that you can avoid those mistakes. He plays so loose out there, whereas Will Levis was so tight. And it's just like everything just felt like he was about to snap. Cam Ward is out there relaxed. And I think you can coach some of the decisions out of him rather than Will Levis, who's just trying so hard to do everything at 100% every second of every play.
Yeah.
Whereas Cam Ward, I think, with that relaxed ability, you can kind of get him to play within the offense a little bit more.
The upside is there for Cam Ward. It's high ceiling for him. Now, how low is his floor is my question.
Right.
I don't know. As far as other prospects, I think Abdul Carter is the best prospect in this draft.
Right. I agree
Which
with
is
that.
weird because I don't think I'd take him at number 1.
Yeah, I think if you trade down, that means you don't like the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I think Abdul Carter would be a great pick at 3, 4, 5, wherever you end up.
Mhm.
Probably doesn't make it to 6.
Yeah.
I
He's top 5.
Is it Shamar Stewart, the Texas A&M
Yeah.
guy who
He's a combine darling right
put
now.
up like a 999 athletic score yesterday?
He's a
which
combine darling.
So that could be another guy if the Titans trade down a little bit further and you still want to go edge. Maybe that's a guy that they look at.
That's the thing. Abdul Carter's by far the number 1 edge in this draft class. But the edge is so deep
Right.
that you could probably take an edge in the second round and you'd be just as fine.
I think I saw yesterday that Stewart's athletic score grade is the 3rd highest among edge players since they started doing this data. The other 2 went number 1 overall.
I kind of take the combine scores with a little bit of a grain of salt.
Right.
Though. If we were drafting on combine scores, Will Levis would be pick number 1. And Joe Milton would be a first-round pick.
The combine is important, but yes, I agree that it's the underwear Olympics where what you can do on that field doesn't always translate to what you can do on an actual NFL football field.
Now, the combine is an excuse for owners and coaches of other teams to get together and
right.
negotiate a little bit. Let's talk. Well, you give me what do you want to do? I think that's more important than the actual combine participants putting up stats. But
right.
To each their own.
And I was looking through the somebody tweeted out the top 10 40-yard dash times of all time. Really, the only players that you can look at and say they ended up being good NFL players, Chris Johnson, of course.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's too early to say, but Xavier Worthy looks like he's going to be a good NFL player.
He looks solid.
But outside of those 2, the rest of them ended up being either busts or just not even really impact players at the NFL level.
Yeah.
John Ross, obviously, is
John
one that
Ross is the first
out.
one that comes to mind for me.
So I agree that the NFL Combine, the results aren't all that important to what the NFL player actually ends up being. You're right. It's more about getting everybody from the NFL together in one place before free agency and the draft. And somebody put the story out there that, the reason the Titans and Rams made that deal back in 2016 for the number 1 pick is because their booths were next to each other at the combine. Like that's where it started. So who knows what could be going on behind the scenes there. I think the Titans, if they trade back, I would think edge is probably a spot that they go.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the offensive linemen are worth a top 10 pick, at least for the Titans right now, where it's like, is Will Campbell a tackle? Maybe, maybe not.
No.
So
guard.
You're not taking a guard with the 6th or 7th overall pick. So I think edge would be a good spot. Maybe wide receiver, although Tet McMillan seems to be slipping down draft boards. Luther Burden's kind of been slipping too.
Yeah.
So honestly, I'm in at quarterback at 1. I think the Titans should stick and pick. How often do you get to pick number 1 overall? And I think Cam Ward would not be the lowest rated prospect to go first overall as a quarterback. There have been quarterback classes worse than this where somebody stretches to go get one.
Mitchell Trubisky went number 2 overall.
Right.
How'd that go?
And I just don't understand why somebody made the meme out of this of like the in the workplace, like the human resources, like it's all these other teams saying they're going to draft quarterbacks early. No one seems to bat an eye. It's like, oh, the Browns would be ecstatic to take Cam Ward at number 2 overall, or the Raiders should trade up for Shedeur Sanders. But if anybody suggests the Titans take Cam Ward first, they're like, oh, he's not worth the first overall pick, but he's worth the 2nd pick. It's like the Titans are a quarterback needy team. Cam Ward, by all indications of what we've heard out of the combine and people, seems to be worth a top 10 pick. You take those guys at number 1 overall.
Now, if you take Cam Ward, doesn't matter where you pick him, I'd sit him.
Really?
I would sit him. I'd bring in a bridge guy, whether that be, Russell Wilson maybe getting cut. I would not bring in Aaron Rodgers.
Jameis Winston.
Just someone to kind of ease the Titans into the season a little bit, maybe teach Cam Ward a thing or two, and then it's Ward's show.
I think you bring in a veteran for sure to be your backup. Like I would not be behind a Cam Ward, Mason Rudolph quarterback room because I
No,
saw there were
God,
indications the Titans would be open to bringing Rudolph back. No, I think you go get a veteran guy with some experience, but I still think Cam Ward would be your week 1 starter. That dude's played 5 years of college football.
Yeah, he said it the other day.
So
why he's not thrown in the pro day? He said
5
years of film speak for themselves.
I'm behind Cam Ward at number 1. I think when you have the number 1 pick, I've said it before, you either take your quarterback or put yourself in position to draft a future quarterback. And
I think I would do the latter.
but I keep thinking about this. Who's coming out next year that
You're right.
like
And TD has said this before too. Like we're deeming Arch Manning the best quarterback in this draft class, and he's not even played a full season in the SEC.
Like there's the idea of Arch Manning being good, but the other quarterbacks coming out could have come out this year. Garrett Nussmeier and Drew Aller, and I think Cam Ward probably grades out higher than those guys right now.
Yeah. I don't know.
I understand that it happens every year where it's like the idea of this future quarterback class that is so much better than this one, but you have the number 1 pick right now. You gotta take advantage of it. And I think Cam Ward is he the best player in the class? No. But you reach on quarterbacks when you think a guy is worthy of even a top 15 pick.
Yeah.
And I think Cam Ward is worth that.
Yeah.
Quick question for you both. Regarding the Cam Ward bridge QB room situation with the Titans. If you bring in a guy like, I don't know, like Russell Wilson, and let's say you draft Cam Ward, and we've talked about it on this show in this station before. What if the Titans start 1-4? 2-5? And if you're Brian Callahan, you're kind of coaching for your job at that point. Do you pull the trigger and start Cam Ward?
Yeah. Show the world that you drafted the right guy.
Well, yeah, and Callahan, I think Callahan, if they do draft Cam Ward, and we can get into this more on the other side, I think Callahan's job depends less on wins and losses next year than it does Cam Ward showing promise.
Well, I've said it before. You take a quarterback, you're committing to Brian Callahan for 2 to 3 years.
Right. Yeah. That means you believe that Brian Callahan can develop Cam Ward. And I think that Brian Callahan's job depends way less on whether they go 4-13 or 9-8 versus does Cam Ward look like the guy that you drafted him to be?
Yeah. And then you can eventually get to the point where it's about wins and losses.
Right. Like year 2, obviously, you would expect the wins to follow if Cam Ward is that guy.
Okay, we got our quarterback. Let's see him win some games.
Right.
If you're not winning games, chances are it's probably not the coach, or it probably is the coach. It's probably not your quarterback.
We'll dive more into this on the other side here on 4's Company. Tune into Sports Talk 8:30 tomorrow for coverage of the NASCAR Xfinity Series, Focused Health 250. Coverage begins at 1 p.m. Talking Titans here on this Saturday morning. We'll get into more about the quarterbacks on the other side. 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
said it to Senior Bowl that Cam and Sean were kind of like both U.S. quarterbacks. Do you kind of still put them in the same bucket, or are you seeing one separate from the other?
Oh, they're both worthy of the conversations that they're in right now. You know, they're both good players. I think they've earned the right to be in the conversations they're in. As far as where I see them and how I stack them, that's for me. But I do think they're worthy of those conversations. There's some other good players in this class too, and I do think that one of the things that's most important is that you never make an assumption when you're in this process, and that you treat every prospect, whether you think they're the first pick or the 200 and something pick, that you go through that evaluation phase with the same intensity and thoroughness that you would regardless of where you think they fall. And so you have an accurate evaluation of all the players, where the class stands and how you'd stack the class. That's also really important because there's evidence over the years that there's a lot of players that in those later rounds that end up being impactful players. And so you just make sure that you do your due diligence on all the positions from the top of the class to the back of it. So you have a great feel for where those guys might fall.
That was Brian Callahan earlier this week talking about the quarterbacks, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. Do they fall into the category of worthy of the number one pick? And it seemed like that was the way he was trying to put it. It is lying season, though. We have no idea whether he's actually telling the truth or not. And I thought the Titans did a pretty good job of trying to hold their cards close to their chest on Tuesday when they spoke. They did a nice job of, hey, we love everybody, but also not getting too overly complimentary of any specific player too.
They're not committing. I mean, it's like dating. When you're dating around, you don't want to just outwardly say,
right,
I love you, I want to be with you. You kind of play your cards a little
There's
bit.
no ring on any of these prospects' fingers yet.
Nothing wrong with playing around. That phrase is, I phrased that horribly. There's nothing wrong with, I'm going to stop talking now.
That's probably a good.
Yeah.
4's Company, Jake
Yeah.
Lyman, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman with you. Going through some of the headlines from Indianapolis this week. Titans with the number one pick. Neither quarterback throwing today, but we just kind of talked about it. I think I'm on board with Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward at number one is now my favorite scenario for the Titans. Trading back would be number two because you've got to either add to your draft pool. Borgonzi and Brinker have said that they want 30 picks over the next 3 years, 12 in the top 100. The only way you do that is by trading back.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't hate a trade back, but I just feel like Cam Ward is worthy of that pick. And when you're picking number one and you need a quarterback, you take a quarterback.
Yeah, I see it. I'd feel much more comfortable trading down. You don't have a third round pick this year, replenish that, get a first round pick next year. Don't give up your first round pick next year. Then you got 2 picks. You got 2 shots to go get your franchise guy.
It does not connect in my head that somebody's going to want one of these quarterbacks enough to move up to one, but yet you don't want them. Like,
it's like draft day.
Like I understand
Callahan,
that there's different flavors, like different teams like might have different grades on different quarterbacks. But if a team is willing to give up future first to go get Cam Ward, don't you think that would make the Titans think maybe we're missing something here?
Can I give you a little breaking news unrelated to football?
Go ahead.
This is from our friend Elliot Friedman. Hearing Gustav Nyquist will not play this afternoon for Nashville on Long Island. Health protection for his trade.
Wow.
So looks like Nyquist is going to be moved here pretty shortly.
Coming up on the trade deadline, Predators going to be sellers, and we'll see if Nyquist is on the move coming up. And again, we're leading you right up to pregame coverage with Robbie Stanley coming up in just under an hour as the Predators take on the Islanders in an early game. It's 11:30 puck drop. Is that?
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
You can watch the game and go take a nap and then
we
wake right back up for the Elimination Chamber tonight.
Well, and Vandy men's basketball. Taking on a ranked Missouri team in a Memorial.
It's going to be awesome.
Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Ron from the Borough wants to chime in. Ron, good morning. What you got for us?
Good morning, gentlemen. This is Dr. Crane. How are we doing?
Hey!
I'm alive and well. I have all my vital organs, which is good. Unfortunately, my credit card did get stolen. So,
oh, no.
Yeah. So we're currently just rolling on the green cash that's in my wallet.
That's what you get for waking up in Vegas, Nick Frazier.
Are you at the casino right now?
Yeah, that's where the hotel's at. Yeah, I'm currently in the lobby.
Can
Got me a nice free coffee.
Can we play blackjack with you?
Yeah, can you
on
go
the air?
Can you go play a hand?
I mean, I just walked away from the table. I was up a good bit, which is good. So
You were
I
at the
will say the
table
time
at
difference is-
7:41 in the morning, Nick Frazier?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, I got breakfast and they said, "Hey, you busy?" I was like, "Not really." So I stopped at the table and
Wow.
Is it
Caroline,
Continental?
What a nice lady. No, it's not Continental,
Oh,
unfortunately.
you got ripped
but
off, buddy.
That is why there are no clocks in Vegas casinos. Dr. Crane.
There isn't. It is really weird. But
Dr. Crane, I got
heard
a quick question for you. What's the betting scene like? And on a scale of 1 to 100, how hard are you going to hammer Tennessee money line today at home against Alabama?
I'll make sure the guy next to me does that, and I just watch him laugh in his face.
You should be
That's
talking
not
about the
gonna happen.
Braves.
Yeah. It's baseball
Yeah,
season,
Braves,
Jake
buddy.
Wallman.
They have spring training games on here. It's pretty crazy. I'm not going to admit it. I'm just, this is kind of it's full of joy and a lot of craziness. I'll say the late nights is when everything's busy.
Oh yeah.
Not the time to play, in my opinion. Mornings is where you cash in.
That's probably a good point. Well, Dr. Crane, glad you're doing well out there in Vegas. Enjoy the
Thank
rugby,
you, gentlemen.
and we're glad to hear from you.
Watch out for
Thank you.
old woman penny peddlers when they get out of church. Just be careful.
Yeah, I've already made that mistake, unfortunately. Yeah. So, yeah, but I appreciate you guys taking my call. And, yeah, I heard Jake's comment earlier about Cam Ward. I'm in on that now.
Let's
After
go.
the whole Abdul Carter situation
Look
with
at
the foot.
You just
I
flipped
still
Jake
think-
or Nick Frazier.
The 4's company
Yeah.
crew is going to be banging the drum for Cam Ward at this station for the next 2 months.
Wait.
Not me.
Hey, when Jake Lyman says St. Patrick's Day is the deadline, I'm in on it. I mean, Jake Lyman has got me thinking right now. So appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Dr. Crane. We're
Hey,
on
thanks, guys.
board.
Have a great rest of your show, all right?
Enjoy Vegas.
Extra scoop of ice cream for me, buddy.
You got it, man.
Nick Frazier calling in on our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We miss him in studio, but glad he called in. I'm telling you,
I really wanted to play blackjack with him.
that
over
would have
the
been
air.
hilarious.
I don't know if
we
you
could've-
would have been allowed to play.
No, I
would've
can. I am allowed to play card games. I just can't bet on sports.
Can you imagine? He just puts
Um,
us on the table. What do we got? He's like, we're sitting at 13.
Yeah,
Hit
it.
hit hard.
That would
that
be
hard, yeah.
That would be hilarious. And Nick Frazier did mention my St. Patrick's Day deadline. If the Titans are trading the pick, it's
Yeah.
going to happen within the next 16 days.
Then
So,
they have till St. Patrick's Day, and then I'll flip over to the Cam Ward.
Let's
bus.
go. Let's go.
But as of right now, I'm on the trade that pick bus.
All right, we will circle back to that on our March 22nd show, and that'll be after free agency. Off season's flying by in the NFL. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Again, our question of the day: what is your favorite March Madness moment? We'll get to
I
our
wish we would have
answers.
gotten Frazier's.
Oh, we should have asked Frazier. We'll get him to
I-
text
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
It's a private text line.
Yes, we'll have him text us his answer. You can text us 615-737-1025. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll get to those answers coming up in about 15 minutes. But coming up next, it's Newt's Notes with Connor Newt here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. One of the greatest segments in all of radio. You can hear the music. 4's Company. It's time for Newt's Notes. Connor, take it away.
All right. So I got a rant. You and I had a little interaction over the week. I was very upset that Vanderbilt men's basketball on Wednesday ran quite long. In fact, the longest game of all time.
Yeah, the last 3 minutes and 13 seconds took 45 minutes of actual time.
Unreal. And I get it. That's not their fault. I'm not mad at Vanderbilt. I'm not mad at Texas A&M. I'm really mad at the SEC network because 2 hours in between games is clearly not enough time.
Yes, I agree with that. It's very rare that a game is actually done in 2 hours.
I'm tired of, especially when Kentucky plays the late game, or not even Kentucky. Like if the SEC is so deep this year, I've been watching a lot of SEC basketball. I don't want to watch, South Carolina and Auburn go over and I'm missing, Alabama and Florida. That's just a hypothetical. I don't think that's actually how the schedule played out. I think the SEC needs to move these 6 o'clock games back to 5:30. Give it 2.5 hours. If you go over, it's not by much. Most people, I don't have ESPN Plus. I'll just tell you that. So I can't, when a team or a game coming on after goes to SEC Plus, I'm kind of screwed because I can't watch it.
Is SEC Plus ESPN Plus, or do you, as long as you have SEC Network, do you get SEC Network Plus?
I think it's the same umbrella.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Okay.
I don't have SEC Plus. I've tried. I don't know.
I think you just got to get ESPN Plus, and then you get
This is a message.
SEC Network Plus.
This is a message to Charles Richard Newt. Please purchase ESPN Plus. Please.
Well, I thought it was funny scrolling through Twitter and seeing all of the Kentucky fans mad. And all of them are tweeting like, no one cares about Vanderbilt and Texas A&M. We want to watch the Cats. And I'm like, this is a bubble team beating a top 15 team on the road.
I think
it was an important game.
That's excessive because I cared about that game.
Right. Like, it was an important game. I understand you want to watch your team, and it is frustrating that the windows are that close. But I just was laughing because I'm like, the world does not revolve around Lexington, Kentucky.
Sometimes it does.
It used to. Not anymore.
Yeah. We're going to reclaim the Kentucky Invitational here in about a week. But I'm just saying, like, I'm kind of sick of, if it's not on SEC Plus, it's on ESPN News, and that's fine. But my dad's kind of old school, so he'll DVR the game sometimes when he's coming back from work. So this week, I was waiting for him to come home because I like to watch with him because it's funny. He didn't get home till 8:30. Game started at 8. We DVR'd it, and it was just like the last 3 minutes of Vanderbilt and Texas A&M for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So we missed, 13 regulation minutes of Kentucky. And basically we watch, the last third of the first half and then the second half. So, I mean, it was really frustrating. It is frustrating. And I understand you're in a time window. Time windows are hard, but college football has the same problem.
Yeah.
Like these games run over 2 hours, or I think college football gets 3. 3 hours is not enough time.
I guess the issue is probably that if they did 2.5 hours, the studio would have to fill for a long time if there was a quick game. Like, let's say a game gets done in an hour 50. Then that studio's got to fill for the next 40 minutes.
That's fine.
Which, I mean, I'm sure they could do it, but that's probably why they try and keep it tight so they can just toss from game to game to game.
Yeah. But at the same time, you're running the risk of a lot of fan bases being mad at you.
No, I agree with that.
And it's not just Kentucky. Like, I've seen Tennessee get mad about it. I've seen Alabama get mad about it. It's pretty much everyone in the SEC. Vanderbilt gets mad about it.
It is frustrating because it does seem to happen almost every single time. And yes, when games are on ESPN or ESPN2, they will bump it down to ESPN News or ESPNU or one of those. And it gives you another option.
And that's fine if you're watching live.
Right. But yes, the DVR, that does make sense because if a game runs long, you never know how much you're going to miss.
I think it's just frustrating because it seems like ESPN is the only entity that has this problem.
You're probably right.
When you watch on CBS, I mean,
CBS also doesn't always do double headers.
They don't. Think. But Fox, when you watch on that, or NBC sometimes, it never has that. And I get ESPN runs most the majority of college basketball games throughout the season, especially in the SEC. But these other networks aren't having a problem. You're kind of driving people away, especially on a weekend. Hey, maybe I'll go watch UConn and St. John's play over on CBS instead of Vanderbilt and South Carolina, which is not on yet.
Yeah, it's a good point. And you can blame our good friend Brent Williams for missing so much of that game, continuing to foul for Texas A&M.
Thank you, Brent.
Thank
you so much.
I mean, I get it. It is annoying. Maybe 2:15 is the way to do it, but then you get some kind of weird start times.
Yeah.
But
tip-offs don't usually happen until, like, if you have a 6 o'clock game, tip-off isn't happening until 6:10.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't do it like the NBA, where the NBA games they'll just push it back until the TV's
No, you
ready.
can't do that.
Like in those TNT doubleheaders, like if game 1 runs long, they'll just hold game 2 for 15 minutes. But you can't do that in college because it's like the timing is all lined up for the game to start at whatever it is, 7:02.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just say, hey, hold it for 15 minutes and radio broadcasts, you've got to fill for the next 15 minutes. And, the marketing director's got to completely redo the script for the next 15 minutes. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how you fix it because I doubt ESPN is ever going to increase those windows.
No, it's not going to happen.
But
I'm just putting it out there. Like,
they should.
It's getting frustrating.
Yeah.
It's been really bad this year. Like, worse than years prior, it feels like.
Well, the good news is that we're going to get to tournament time starting in a week, and then there won't be any worry because
one game 4 screens up all at once.
One game can't start until the next one ends. So we won't have to worry about that anymore. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to chime in on that, Connor's Newt's notes about the SEC network and ESPN overlapping games too much. And also our question of the day, which we will get to next. What is your favorite March Madness moment as we enter the best month of college basketball? And we will talk about our answers coming up next. Tune in to 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville today for MTSU men's basketball. The Blue Raiders take on UTEP. Tip off at 3 p.m. with the pregame beginning at 2:30. Coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. We will take a quick break. We'll be back, go through our question of the day here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, 4's Company, brought to you by LPL Financial Nashville and Patrick Conger. Investment advice for you in the short term and for the future. Jake Lyman, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman with you. No Nick Frazier today, and we are shortened a little bit. We're with you till 10:30, leading you right into Predators pregame coverage. They get set to take on the New York Islanders this morning. Robbie Stanley will have pregame coverage coming up in about 30 minutes. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Let's get to our question of the day. It is March. This is March. We're asking what our favorite March Madness moments are. Let's get to some of the answers on the text line here. Dylan in Antioch, an MTSU Blue Raiders fan. I feel like this is probably a common one for anybody down in the borough. MTSU beating MSU.
Oh,
Michigan
yeah.
State as a 15 seed back in. Dylan says he thinks 2016. I think it's around there.
I think it was earlier than that.
might
I
have been
think it
15.
was 2015.
Yeah, 15
Yeah.
sounds right.
In 2016, I believe they beat Minnesota in the round of
that
64.
sounds right. But
Yeah.
yes, obviously the big upset over Tom Izzo was a big one. Gunner on our text line, Connor's best friend,
My buddy.
says Josh Harrelson beaming Jared Sullinger in the chest with the ball. Aaron Harrison's clutch run in 2014.
Oh, yes. This is the part where he usually hits it. And he nails it over Michigan.
Gunner's he's your Kentucky brother. And Patrick Sparks hitting a 3 against Michigan State.
That one was good. That was before my time. That one was good. Only problem is Kentucky lost that game in overtime.
Yeah.
So
That'll do it. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam in Portland wants to chime in. Adam, good morning. Go ahead.
What's up, dude? Yeah, so, man, I was not going to miss the show. A couple of other shows during the week have pissed me off this week, but you guys, you're still doing great, man. But, no, look, when I was in school, so I graduated in 2005, when we would have exams, like it was right around the same time that March Madness would hit, like we would be prepping for, we would have like we would fill out brackets to get extra credit. So like that's I remember some of those teams, some Kentucky teams, and that 2001 to 2005, I think that was Tubby.
yeah.
In there. Yeah, like that. Like there was a lot of good teams on there. More recently, Loyola Chicago having that run, and they always have like some big clunky white dude with a dirty mustache that would just kill, all these big like lottery picks. He would just be destroying them and bust everybody's bracket. So see, and then Sister Jean is still alive. She's 105. I looked it up when y'all were asking.
Right.
She's crushing, dude. So I always, that was fun to watch that. I do like somebody mentioning, MTSU as a 15 going deep, but I really like seeing Loyola Chicago just because they put Tennessee out during that run as well. So
Yes, they did.
and I'm a big Tennessee fan, so I was like, yeah, once they beat you, you kind of want to get behind them and see them go all the way. And I thought those Loyola Chicago teams are pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Adam. That's Loyola Chicago was a great Cinderella run. VCU,
Dunk City,
the Butler teams, Dunk City. George Mason went to the Final Four with Larinaga.
St. Peter's went to the Sweet
St.
16.
Peter's to the Sweet 16. St. Peter's went to the Elite Eight, didn't they?
They went to they beat Kentucky and then they beat Purdue and then they lost.
Who was it Oral Roberts who went to the Elite Eight?
Oral Roberts.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Because they beat that was COVID year. They beat Ohio State.
Yes, Ohio State in the first round.
15. They were the 2.
They beat somebody as the 2 and then Purdue as the 3, maybe.
Yeah, they had a run.
Something like that. They did go to the Elite Eight back in 2021.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
It was the COVID year.
Well, let's get to our answers here. Jake Wallman, what is your favorite March Madness moment?
So I could have gone with the Tennessee moment. I remember I was in middle school when Tennessee beat Ohio State to go to their first Elite Eight in school history. But I'm not going to go that route. Connor, don't worry. I'm not picking some Kentucky flop in the round of 64 or something.
There aren't many of those. Don't worry.
I'm actually going. I am going pretty recent. Fairleigh Dickinson toppling Purdue in 2023.
Purdue.
That was pretty cool. Just like knowing the story of what like Fairleigh Dickinson was, and
who was on that team?
Zach Edey.
Well, I'm talking
He
about
was on
Fairleigh
the-
Dickinson.
Oh, on Fairleigh Dickinson.
Who was on that team?
Ainsley Almanor,
Oh yeah.
Oh, how about that?
Wildcat.
Well,
but-
yeah. It's funny. A lot of these like Cinderella teams, like Max Asmus.
Mhm.
Where is he now? Arkansas?
No.
No. He's somewhere, but
Yeah.
he was the star of that Oral Roberts team, and now he's playing Power 5 basketball
Mhm.
somewhere.
They get the spotlight.
It's true. No, that is a good one. I did not get a chance to watch that game live. I was calling a baseball game, but I just remember seeing the alert pop up on my phone and could not believe it. That Fairleigh Dickinson did that. I'm also gonna go with a 16 beating a 1.
The first one.
I could be, I could actually look at my own teams. Like I was in the building when Virginia Tech won the ACC championship game over Paolo Banchero and Duke
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago, 2 years, 3 years ago.
3.
I was in their building at the Barclays Center. That was really fun. Last year was obviously really fun getting to call Vandy women's basketball winning a game in March Madness.
Yeah.
But I'm a hater through and through. And watching Virginia lose by 20 to UMBC is one of the greatest nights of my
I
life.
vividly remember watching.
Oh
that.
my goodness. It just kept getting better.
That was
over
a
and
fun
over.
tournament too.
That was.
That was 18.
Yes,
So
that was
that was-
2018.
That was Villanova
was-
and Michigan? Or was that the year
Yes.
prior?
Yes. That was a really fun tournament up until the championship game where Villanova
Yeah.
blew them out.
Yeah, that was Eric Pascal and that team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, that was, I mean, it didn't get much better than that. UVA, I remember watching that game. I was watching on my phone, and just every time UMBC drilled another 3, it just became more clear. We won't talk about what happened the year after that. It's irrelevant to the story, but UMBC beating UVA, that is my favorite March Madness moment.
Man, I mean, I've got a bunch of Kentucky favorites. Obviously, 2012 comes to mind, just that whole year in general. Anthony Davis and company winning a national championship. Gunner pointed out Aaron Harrison clutch run. That was fun. 2019, Tyler Hero nailing the shot over Houston to advance to the Elite Eight. That was a fun one. Outside of Kentucky, I mean, how have we not mentioned Villanova's buzzer beater over North Carolina to win a national championship?
that might be the greatest college basketball game I've ever seen.
Just unreal.
Marcus, who was the guy for North Carolina, the shot that gets forgotten that was ridiculous to tie it?
I'm blanking, but that game was maybe the best basketball game of all time, just in general. Like that game, I remember sitting there watching, and I was like, "Oh my god!" That was a bad year for me too, because that was Kentucky, in the Elite Eight against North Carolina.
I got one.
And Luke May.
I got one for you guys while Lyman looks up who shot that 3-ball for North Carolina.
I can only ever find Chris Jenkins. Marcus Page. I was going
Marcus
to say
Page.
Marcus Page.
That sounds
and
right.
I thought I was wrong.
Do you both remember Dunk City in 2012?
Yeah, we were just talking about Dunk City.
Okay. I guess I was working on Preds back here. That one was one that I was going to pick, but I ended up going with Fairleigh Dickinson. That was a really fun team.
There are so many good ones.
And then Frank Haith, where was he at before he was at Missouri? I think his job before he was at Missouri got him the Missouri job. He went on a run in March Madness. I think it was Norfolk State, maybe.
That sounds right, maybe.
I don't know.
Possibly.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many good moments. One that I always remember, the Gonzaga UCLA Final Four
Oh
game.
yeah, that was the COVID year too.
From the COVID year
From
with
half court,
Johnny Juzang and
Kentucky legend.
Why am I blanking on the point guard's name who hit the
Tiger
shot?
Campbell.
No. For Gonzaga.
Oh, it was Jalen Suggs.
Yes, Jalen Suggs. Yes, Jalen Suggs hit the buzzer beater to win it, but Johnny Juzang hit the shot. I will stand by. I thought Johnny Juzang was going to be a star in the NBA. His game reminded me so much of Devin Booker.
No, he was terrible.
He never turned into anything, but that run to the Final Four with UCLA, he was so good.
He was terrible at Kentucky, and then he transferred out to UCLA, and then he became solid, but not.
He reminded me of Devin Booker. Jaime Jaquez ended up being the best player on that team.
Yeah, Miami Heat legend.
But yeah, that was a great game. Gonzaga winning that one and then beating Baylor in the national championship.
Yeah. I tend to forget that tournament a lot, though.
Yeah, because it was the COVID year. And that year, Gonzaga and Baylor were the two best teams, and it wasn't even close. And they ended up playing in the championship. And
Yeah.
it was kind of just expected. There wasn't a whole lot of chaos.
Yeah. Well, I think the environment has some to do with
That's
that.
true.
But I don't know. I think given the environment, I think Gonzaga and Baylor still would have met up because
Right.
those were the two best teams by a long shot. But you never know. We'll never know.
March is the best.
I'm just thinking about it. I can't wait.
I
can't wait to get my heart broken by St. Benedict School of the Blind or something.
We've made it to March. Next week we get all of the big women's basketball tournaments.
We got an answer from Nick Frazier.
Oh, we did?
Jimmer Fredette, 2011 versus Gonzaga. He had 34 points, 7 3-pointers.
Wow. That's a good one.
Beat Gonzaga. I forgot about Jimmer.
Jimmer's
Fredette.
one of the all-time March Madness legends.
I was a little young for Jimmer. I mean, I remember him, but like not in depth like I would today.
I think the Steph tournament was the first one that I really remember when he took Davidson to the Elite Eight.
2010, Kentucky played West Virginia in the Elite Eight.
I remember this game.
It was Joe Mazzulla on West Virginia, actually, coached by Bob Huggins. And then Kentucky just could not hit a three. They hit 1 3, they win the game. They went 1 for 22 from beyond the arc that game.
Incredible.
Brutal.
I remember I was 6. So
there's a lot of good March moments. As a Hokies fan, we don't have a ton. We went to the Sweet 16 my freshman year of college and lost to Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, that Duke team.
that was a fun one too, when they got upset by Michigan State.
Yes, the very next game, the Hokies should have sent that game to overtime. They were down 2 with like 0.6 seconds left, and Justin Robinson lobbed to Ahmed Hill, and he went up and couldn't push it over the rim. It like hung on the rim and fell out in the Sweet 16 game.
That was a fun tournament too. I just hated that Virginia team.
Oh, of course, the worst.
They were just so boring.
I don't hate Ty Jerome, but Kyle Guy is one of my least favorite athletes. And Kihei was on that team too, man.
DeAndre Hunter. I didn't mind.
I don't mind DeAndre Hunter.
Who was the center they had?
Diakite.
Yeah,
he
was a punk.
I didn't like him. Kihei Clark and Kyle Guy, those guys.
Yeah,
they are on my list of least favorite athletes of all time. That'll have to be a question of the day one time. Who is the guy you just love to hate?
Because you're going to get a lot of Christian Leitner.
That was man bun Kyle Guy and Kihei Clark, who played until he was 40 years old at UVA.
That's how I feel about who Kentucky plays today. Chad Baker Mazzara on Auburn. That dude's like 40.
Yeah.
Hasn't found Indeed.com yet.
There are plenty of people who go to college for 7 years, Connor.
Yeah. His name's Hunter Dickinson.
They call those
for Kansas.
People doctor. 615-737-1025. Tune into Sports Talk 8:30 tomorrow for coverage of the NASCAR Series Cup race. Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix coverage begins at 1:30 p.m. And coming up later today, you can listen into Vanderbilt men's basketball here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game as the Commodores take on Missouri at Memorial Gym. 5 o'clock tip-off. The pregame show starts at 4:30. Vanderbilt men's basketball is presented by Athletes Unlimited Pro Basketball, coming to Nashville's Municipal Auditorium today and tomorrow. Go to auprobasketball.com for more details and to purchase tickets. One more segment for us on this Saturday morning. We'll go through a big slate of college basketball games today and wrap things up after this. You're listening to 4's Company here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Nashville's best deal this week is from Barrio Burrito Bar in Murfreesboro. At Barrio Burrito Bar, every bite is a celebration of fresh ingredients, vibrant spices, and bold flavors dancing on your taste buds like a fiesta in your mouth. Head to thegamenashville.com/deals now and get half off a $25 gift card while supplies last. And don't forget, you can tune into Vanderbilt baseball later today on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Commodores taking on USC in the Southern California College Baseball Classic. Pregame begins at 3:45. First pitch is at 4. Coverage is also available on the app and at thegamenashville.com. Jake Lyman, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman. We are going to quickly wrap up the show here, get you over to Preds pregame coverage as the Predators take on the Islanders late this morning, 11:30 puck drop from Long Island. And Robbie Stanley will have the pregame coverage for you in just a couple of minutes. Let's get some picks in for today's college basketball slate. Lots of big ones. Vanderbilt with the big win over Texas A&M on Wednesday, and likely punching their ticket to the NCAA tournament. Today, another ranked matchup against Missouri inside Memorial. Connor Newt, do the Doors get it done?
This is going to be a tough one. Missouri's a tough team. Definitely the surprise of the SEC for me this year. But I think the Vanderbilt Commodores get it done. Memorial Magic is alive and well. I think it's going to be a packed house. I think Mark Byington's got these boys rolling. And I think they're riding on the confidence that they're going dancing. So, yeah, I think Vanderbilt gets this one done.
I'm with you. Vandy in these Saturday home games has been tough to beat. You guys know it. Tennessee, Kentucky, Ole Miss last week. I think Vandy's able to beat Missouri at home and maybe even starts pushing their way up towards like a 8 seed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible. That would be their 8th conference win and still have Arkansas and Georgia down the stretch. They could end up finishing 500 in the conference, which, I mean,
is an accomplishment this year.
They won 9 games all of last year. To win 9 games in this SEC would be crazy.
But hey, their coach dressed so nice.
He did.
He had great
good
shoes.
Yeah. Jake Wallman, Vandy or Mizzou?
I think Memorial Magic does come into play today. I think the Doors get it done.
All right. Sweep on the Doors. Alabama, Tennessee, top 10 matchup. Blitz, Bama, Blitz. I'm going with Alabama.
There you go. Roll Tide, Willie.
Yep.
I'm with you. I think it's Roll Tide, roll. I think Mark Sears, I talk about him all the time. I think he's got a big day today.
Jake Wallman?
This one goes out to Robbie Stanley, who is a known hoop hater until March.
Who does not care.
It's
about
March
basketball.
now.
It's March now, so he's got to care.
He's ready for the Masters.
The Vols play great at home. It's an orange out. Give me the Vols.
All right. We got 2 on the Tide, 1 on the Vols.
Isn't every game an orange out?
Yeah, I don't know. Usually,
yes,
when it's
but
not a whiteout.
They're directed to wear orange today.
It's a whiteout in Memorial today. And finally, your Cats, Connor, against Auburn. Does Kentucky get it done?
I mean, I think so? No, but I'm the resident Wildcat here, so of course I'm gonna go Wildcats. They play the number 1 team in the nation today in Rupp Arena.
I'm with you.
Really?
Kentucky gets it done. Go Big Blue.
Yeah.
Jake Wallman.
Can the game end in a tie and the fans burn the stadium down?
Never burn that beautiful stadium down. It's actually an arena.
If Auburn and Janai Broome get off to a tough start and Kentucky can hit some shots, I think Kentucky can hang around and maybe make this a game late in the second half. Is Kentucky at full strength?
No, they're missing Jackson Robinson, who is
Auburn
probably their best player.
Close.
Taking Auburn. Okay. Love it.
I thought we were gonna have the first cat sweep in show history.
Yeah.
Had to ruin the fun.
So close. That'll do it for the show. Big day of college basketball going on today. Also a big day for hockey. Predators and Islanders coming up next. Pre-game coverage with Robbie Stanley right after this on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
And welcome into Smashville tonight here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley here with you as always for some rare morning hockey. And let me tell you, I'm a big fan of the morning hockey. The Islanders and the Predators squaring off today in New York. And the Predators beginning the first half of a back-to-back. They'll play against the Islanders this morning, and we'll carry you up till puck drop just after 11:30 here on the pregame show. And then tomorrow, the Predators will be in Manhattan taking on the New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden. So lots of hockey to come this weekend for the Nashville Predators, and we'll have you covered all weekend long here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Preds with a win last time out against the league's best team. They take down the Winnipeg Jets on Thursday by a 2-1 score. Winnipeg had won 11 games in a row heading into that game. That was a franchise record for them, and the Predators put a stop to that with a very, very good performance at home from UC Saros on Thursday night against the Jets. Predators improved to 21-30-7 on the season. The Islanders, 26-25-7 as well. So there's a big logjam right now in the Eastern Conference. The Western Conference, you look at the standings, and there's basically like one spot up for grabs in the Western Conference in the playoff race. You've got Vancouver, Calgary, Utah, St. Louis. And if you want to include Anaheim, I don't, but you can if you want to in that discussion. Kind of all fighting for one spot. You know, Colorado and Minnesota and Dallas and Edmonton and LA, they all kind of seem like they're pretty squarely in at this point. So we'll see what that ends up looking like in the West. In the East, it's kind of all over the place once you get to the bottom of the standings. You got the bottom of the Metro division in terms of the 3 spots that are guaranteed. New Jersey holds on to that 3rd spot in the Metro at 70. The 2 wildcard spots are Detroit and Columbus, who, by the way, are playing today in an outdoor hockey game at Ohio State for the Stadium Series. So adds a little bit more intrigue to that one beyond just the spectacle of the outdoor hockey game. They're both holding on to the final 2 wildcard spots in the East at 66 points. And then right below that, Ottawa, the Rangers, and Boston all have 62. Montreal's at 61. Philadelphia's at 60. And the Islanders are at 59. So lots of teams that are still in the mix in the Eastern Conference. And the Predators are about to play 3 of them in a row. The Islanders and the Rangers this weekend. And then they'll take on the Boston Bruins on Tuesday. So Predators could have a lot to say about the way that this ultimately ends up shaking out in the Eastern Conference here. So we'll see what that looks like for the Predators as they begin play today against the New York Islanders. One of the keys to Winnipeg was getting out strong and playing with a lead. When the Predators have been able to do that this year, that's been more conducive to the way they want to play. They'll try to do it again today by getting the Penn Station first goal of the game. Penn Station East Coast Subs, a proud partner of the Nashville Predators, and all about good taste. When the Predators score the first goal, all fans can receive a free sub with the purchase of a sub at all Middle Tennessee locations. The offer can be redeemed online and in store at penn-station.com with the code PredsBOGO. So be on the lookout for that today. Philip Forsberg delivered that last time out against Winnipeg. We'll see if the Predators can do that today. As we know, when you get to this time of year, you always have to start paying attention to the lineups out there. We are now less than a week away from the NHL trading deadline. Barry Trotz has made no secret about it when he's been on with Jared Stillman for his weekly visits on Tuesdays at 5 o'clock here on 102.5 The Game. The Predators are going to be active at the trade deadline, and you could start to see some guys on the move as the Predators try to sell off a little bit here and collect some assets heading into the summer for this year's draft and to see if they can do some maneuvering with their roster heading into next season. Well, it looks like that may be starting today for the Predators. We'll see what that ultimately ends up looking like and the time involved with it. But Elliot Friedman put it out there less than an hour ago that Gus Nyquist not expected to be in the lineup today for Nashville. Now, we'll see what that ends up looking like. And, you know, sometimes these things happen and then it doesn't ultimately end up, resulting in a trade that day. But Gus Nyquist, according to Elliot Friedman, not expected to be in the lineup, holding him out today for trade talks. And Pierre LeBrun, who covers the NHL, does a great job for The Athletic, says that Nashville and Minnesota are talking about a potential Gus Nyquist trade, which is why he's being held out of the lineup today. The trade's not done, and there could be a complication, but we'll see what ends up happening on that front. So, the warm-ups will be underway here in just a few minutes. We're going to check in with Hal Gill and Max Hers a little bit later in the show as well, but it is that time of the year. We are less than a week away from the NHL trading deadline, and Friedman putting it out there earlier this morning that Gus Nyquist could be held out of the lineup today against the New York Islanders. So we'll see what happens on that front, what that means for the Predators in terms of their activity for the rest of the week. Preds looking to get some offense going today. The Windies score with 4. If they can hit that 4, that magical 4 number, we all win. You enjoy a free Windies Small Frosty when the Preds score 4 more goals at home or on the road. This offer valid 24 hours post-game at participating Middle Tennessee Windies. Good to see Philip Forsberg get back on the board last time out with a goal that he scored. Novak scored the other one in that game. I thought Evangelista had his best game in a while. He kind of created that second goal for the Predators, hopping in on the forecheck. He was able to chase down Adam Lowry. He forced a turnover from behind the net. Justin Barron was there to clean it up, made a nice backhand pass over to Novak for what ultimately ended up being the game-winning goal for the Predators on Thursday night. So some more of what you're looking for down the stretch here are younger guys taking the opportunity and playing some of their best hockey. It has obviously been a frustrating season for everyone. I think it's been a particularly frustrating season for a guy like Evangelista, who just never really felt like he's gotten off the ground this year. So he's had some injuries that he's had to battle through. Maybe the last few weeks here, an opportunity for him to really get going and to establish some confidence with himself heading into the offseason. I thought he looked good the other night against Winnipeg. So we'll see if he keeps that up tonight or today as they take on the New York Islanders. I also thought when you look at the way UC Saros played, that was a couple of 10 bell saves in that game where he just looked awesome. And when you talk about vintage UC Saros performances, he played great on Thursday against Winnipeg. Had a lot of quality looks that Winnipeg was able to generate. I think Kyle Connor by himself in that game had 16 shot attempts. So obviously a guy that's not afraid to shoot the puck. And when Winnipeg got their chances, UC Saros was there and he was able to make the save. Now it's a back-to-back set this weekend, so I would expect Justus Anonen to get one of these games, either today against the Islanders or tomorrow against the Rangers, and Saros will get the other one, but in all likelihood. So we'll see exactly how the Predators decide to handle that part of it. But I think UC Saros is feeling good right now. He talked about basically, after the game Thursday, said since they've come back from the Four Nations break, he feels good physically. He feels like his game's in a good spot right now, and he's just trying to hold on to that as long as he can. It resulted in a win the other night for the Nashville Predators, and a win that he was primarily responsible for with the way that he played in goal. Speaking of winning, you can score free queso when your Predators win at home or on the road. Moe's Southwest Grill will drop a free cup of queso in your Moe's app to redeem the following day only. Download your Moe's app and select your favorite Smashville location before puck drop. Hope you took advantage of that on Friday after the big Predators win against the Winnipeg Jets. Cool day today in the NHL. I mentioned it with Detroit and Columbus. There's an outdoor game taking place later today in the Stadium Series. Preds have been a part of a couple of those, one being the Winter Classic down in Dallas in 2020, and the other one being here against Tampa Bay at Nissan Stadium in the Stadium Series. Outdoor hockey games, awesome. I think over 90,000 are expected to be in attendance at Ohio State later today as the Red Wings and Blue Jackets play. So always a cool day. Some people say, the fascination with the outdoor hockey stuff has gotten old. And I guess if you've been an NHL fan for a long time, I get that to a certain degree. I can tell you, and I think those of you who went to Dallas for the Winter Classic in 2020 can certainly vouch for this. And when it was here in Nashville, when Tampa came into town for the Stadium Series, maybe it doesn't have the same feel to it as the first one did when they did that. I think it was back in 2008 when Pittsburgh and Buffalo played in the Winter Classic. Maybe it's lost a little bit of its luster with the NHL fan at large. But I got to tell you, when you go to one and when one of them is in your town, it's pretty awesome. So I'm looking forward to seeing the spectacle and what that looks like later today as the Red Wings and Columbus Blue Jackets play outdoors at Ohio Stadium. And what I talked about earlier with the standings is actually a huge game as it relates to the Eastern Conference standings there. The Predators, looking around at this thing right now, they are 8 points clear of the Chicago Blackhawks, who are currently 31st in the league. So you've got the Predators at 30th, Chicago's at 31, San Jose is at 32. The Predators are 4 points behind the Buffalo Sabres, who sit in front of them at 29. So they've kind of been stuck at 30 for a while now in the standings. And obviously, a lot of people talking about the draft this time of year. We'll see what ends up happening on that front. Still a long way to go. A lot of hockey to be played between now and then. And a lot of people in this Predators locker room concerned about winning and finding a way to get back to playing good hockey and feeling good about yourself. Interested to see if Steven Stamkos can find his way onto the score sheet today. It's now 11 games that Steven Stamkos has gone without a point. That is the longest streak in his NHL career. So some unfamiliar territory for number 91, and things not going his way right now offensively. We'll see if there's a solution to that later today as the Predators take on the New York Islanders. Fans, when your Predators score a hat trick, so do you. Following any hat trick this season at home or on the road, just download the Hattie B's app for the Hattie B's hat trick on your phone and present the app that night or the next day at any Hattie B's Nashville location to redeem one complimentary hat trick of chicken tenders at any spice level. We've got a lot still to come today here on Smashville Tonight. We'll check in with the voices later in the show. Max Hers and Hal Gill live in New York. We'll also hear from Pete Weber and Terry Crisp later in the show as well, as they go through some history between the Predators and the New York Islanders. We'll hear from a player before the game. Max caught up with Predators forward Fedor Svechkov, so we'll hear from that, and obviously the final thoughts from Predators head coach Andrew Burnett before they take on the Islanders today. Russell Vanosby from Main Street Media will join us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on all things Nashville Predators here on Smashville Tonight. 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in Smashville Tonight here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Predators taking on the New York Islanders for a little morning hockey. Looking forward to that coming up here in just a few minutes. And to help us talk more about that, we go to our 1025 The Game phone line and welcome in our friend Russell Venozzi of Main Street Media. Russell, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Robbie, doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, really appreciate you taking time to be with us. And, Russell, it's an interesting time of year. We were just talking that, the trade deadline is less than a week away, and you got Elliot Friedman putting it out there this morning that Gus Nyquist could be held out of the lineup today for trade-related reasons, and some speculation that Nashville and Minnesota are talking on that front. So let's just start there with the deadline in general. How do you view this from the Predators' perspective? How active do you expect Barry Trotz and the Preds to be? And who are some guys that you think could potentially be on the move as we look ahead to the next week here?
I'll be really surprised if they don't make multiple trades, Robbie. And it sounds like that's already underway there with Nyquist. And will not be shocked at all if that's just kind of the first domino to fall, with him being on an expiring contract, 35 years old, kind of fits that rental mold there for a team looking for some help there at the deadline. And he's been in that position before. So he's not going to be new to switching teams midseason and kind of jumping into a playoff run. So I think he's an ideal pickup for a team kind of looking to shore up its forward depth. And then after that, I think it's a little bit of a crapshoot as to who gets traded, but there's certainly some candidates out there. And I spoke to what I believe are a few here at practice the other day, Colton Sissons, Michael McCarron, Luke Shin, all kind of asked them just the idea of being traded, how that sort of hits them. And, they all said they're trying not to think about it, but they recognize that where the team is and how the team has struggled, that basically anybody, especially the guys that don't have trade protection and the guys that aren't necessarily prospects for the future, could be dealt. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see kind of what the interest level is in those guys. Of course, everybody on the Preds is having a bit of a down season, so you do kind of wonder if that's a difficult sales pitch for Barry Trotz to kind of say, hey, this guy's maybe just a product of our team struggling, and that's why his numbers are down. But like Sissons, obviously, and Nyquist both had career years last year, and they're significantly down this year. But I think with Sissons, McCarron, and Shin, all three of those guys bring some physicality, some grit. Those are guys you kind of want in your bottom six, maybe your third pairing on defense in a playoff run. So I would look for those three. And then beyond that, of course, we've heard some rumblings about Ryan O'Reilly, but I just have a hard time with that one because just if they trade him, to me, that's signaling that they might be giving up on next year as well, because he's one of the guys out there battling right now. And they already need some help at center as it is. And if they were to trade him, that would just be a massive hole in the middle of the lineup. So I believe Barry Trotz when he says that he really does not want to trade Ryan O'Reilly, but you never know if he gets a deal that, like he said before, like Trotz has said before, if it knocks his socks off, and maybe it's something he's got to consider too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting on that front because, there's no doubt that O'Reilly, I think, would generate a lot of interest around the league. Barry Trotz has talked about it. He doesn't think O'Reilly really wants to go anywhere. O'Reilly really likes it here. And to your point, he just feels so important to what they're trying to get done here. And, O'Reilly, as you know, Russell, I think it's a big-time leader in that room. So I think the deal that would have to be presented to Barry Trotz for him to pull the trigger on something like that, I think would be astronomical. And I just don't know that there's a team that's willing to go that high as it relates to the Ryan O'Reilly part of this, but going to be interesting to watch. UC Saros, we've talked a lot about him this year. There have been some ups and some downs. I thought he was awesome the other night against Winnipeg. It was vintage UC Saros. He talked after the game, Russell, about how good he's felt since coming back from the Four Nations break. So how do you view kind of his game, where it is, given everything that's going on around him right now, and what you're looking for from him the rest of the year?
That was really good to see him play well this past week. He was a big part of those wins over Colorado, and then on Thursday against Winnipeg, like you said, the 23 saves. And this whole season, Saros to me has not been anywhere near my biggest concern. I just think when you look at especially the defense in front of him, it's been tough sledding there. I was looking back at the lineup they rolled out for Game 6 of the playoffs last year against Vancouver. All six of those defensemen are either injured, been traded, or waived. And then you also have Spencer Stasny, who had been hurt by that point, but he's missed a lot of the season for personal reasons. So I as a goalie, that's really tough when you've got a whole new defense core in front of you. It's been kind of a revolving door of call-ups and waiver wire guys and trades. I mean, there's been some bright spots. Nick Blankenberg, I think, has been really good. That's been a revelation. You know, he was one of those just post July 1st signing. Like he was signed on July 1st technically, but he got zero headlines, of course, because that was the day all the big guys were brought in. But I think he's worked out pretty well. But yeah, I think something's missing there on defense. And then obviously with Roman Yossi now hurt, it just makes it even worse. So for me, I think Saros is fine, and I think he's showing that right now. And hopefully if they get a better situation in front of them, I guess at this point that'll probably be next season. But once they do that, maybe he'll kind of get back to where he's been his whole career.
So, Russell, I think the easy answer to this question, you brought it up. I mean, it's been a down year for pretty much everybody. So the easy answer to the question down the stretch here of who really needs to kind of show out here and start to play well and try to generate some momentum heading into next season, the answer is everybody. So with that in the background, I understand that. But is there anybody, one or two guys maybe in particular, that you're looking at down the stretch as they're closing out the regular season that you think it's really important to see them play well and have some confidence and start to look like they're getting back towards playing their best brand of hockey?
I want to see some life from Steven Stamkos. As you were talking about earlier, 11 games without a point, longest of his career. And on top of a season that already was not super productive, that's just been baffling. And you can tell he's frustrated. Of course, the effort is there. He's a professional athlete, but you can tell the body language has dipped a little bit. And at one point Thursday night, it looked like he got hit in the face with a stick, and he's probably just got to be thinking, man, like, I can't buy a break right now. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. If it's just kind of frustration or what, but if they could get Steven Stamkos going, I mean, they've lost. So of course they've lost some blowouts, but you look at the 7 overtime losses, plenty of 1 and 2 goal losses. And you just wonder if Steven Stamkos had, I don't know, 10 more goals right now, a few more assists, how much different could their record look? So I would really like to see something from him. It's just amazing to me. You look at Jason Zucker, who the Predators let walk in free agency, in part because they picked up Stamkos and Marchessault, and Jason Zucker is out producing Stamkos, and he's never come close to doing that in his career. So it's just an odd situation, and I'm sure Steven would love to have a good 20-something games here left, but we'll just kind of see what happens there.
Yeah, it's I think that's probably the first guy that came to mind for me as well. You know, based on what they do at the deadline, there's going to be some lineup shuffling as they go down the stretch here. I thought Evangelista, who, you know, as far as their young guys go, I still think is really important in terms of his future and what that looks like here. I thought he looked pretty good against Winnipeg the other night in a season that has been really tough sledding for him. We've talked with you about, you know, Svechkov and the way that he's played before. So we've seen some young guys. I think we're going to see more as we go down the stretch here. But what do you make of kind of where the young guys, the regulars in the NHL that we've seen kind of stand right now, be that a Svechkov and Evangelista? Obviously, LaRue is hurt right now, but some of these forwards that are going to have to be a big part of the answer here as they move forward. What have you seen from them? What do you want to see from them down the stretch here?
Yeah, it's been good to see some of those guys get a chance, especially Svechkov and LaRue. You know, it doesn't seem like they've looked out of place. They've played pretty well considering that they're rookies and they're both 21 years old. And I think this season is going to serve them pretty well moving forward. Obviously, being part of some tough times, we'll see if that kind of hardens them a little bit and gives them some experiences they can lean on. Like you said, Evangelista having a down year. He's been really beat up too. So I kind of wonder, he's probably not, even though he's recovered from some injuries, you can't imagine he's feeling too great confidence-wise or even health-wise, just based on how everything's gone. But really, Robbie, the list is not too long of those at least forward young guys.
Yep.
So I think that's a little concerning to me because you've got some of these older guys potentially aging out or declining, and it's not like they have some ready-made star forwards in the pipeline. Certainly these guys could be solid players. Maybe they could even be top 6 players, but I don't think we know that for sure yet. And, barring a big jump from some of these guys next year, it seems like they're going to have some holes to fill this summer for sure.
Russell, you've been called by some the best dressed man in hockey media. Do you have any response you'd like to offer for that?
Well, I appreciate that. I do what I can. I think wearing a suit kind of gives you a different level of respect.
That's right.
I think, the other day, Mark Jankowski, one of the scratch players, was walking down the hallway, just gave me a little head nod. I was wearing my suit. I guarantee you, if I was wearing normal street clothes, that probably wouldn't happen. So I'm looking to grow the suit collection probably for next season so that I can kind of have some combinations to wear. But my black suit has served me well this year.
Served you very well. As you said, the most respected man in hockey, I think, is soon to follow. Russell, great stuff, brother. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning, and enjoy some hockey as we go through the morning and early afternoon here.
All right. Thanks, Robbie. Have a great weekend.
Absolutely. Russell Venozzi, our guest here on Smashville tonight, does a great job covering the Predators and a whole lot of other things, by the way, for Main Street Media. Make sure you check out his work. Interesting point that he brings up there as it relates to the deadline. Nyquist has kind of been the obvious name. We'll see if there's anybody else that Barry Trotz involves himself with in conversations over the next week here. Always an interesting time of year because, I heard Sean Henry on with Chase and Big Joe talking about this yesterday. It's, it's first and foremost a business, and you're trying to put together a team and build a team that wins and competes for championship. And then you get to this week and it's like, well, we know there are things that need to be done, have to be done as it relates to the betterment of the team. A lot of these guys are really good players, some of which have been around forever. Like, Colton Sissons has been around forever here. And, he's still to this day, in my opinion, has scored the most important goal in the history of this franchise back in 2017 when he had the hat trick and the game winner against the Ducks to send the Predators to the Stanley Cup final. So some guys with a lot of history here, even a guy like Nyquist, who's only been here for 2 seasons, pro's pro, and feels like, he's been around here for a long time just with the presence that he has and the way that he carries himself. So going to be a very interesting next couple of days here to see what ends up happening on the trade deadline front. Still lots to come here on Smashville tonight. You'll hear from Pete and Terry Chris coming up next. They'll give you some thoughts on the New York Islanders as the Predators prepare for some early morning / early afternoon hockey later today against the Islanders. We're going to carry you up until puck drop. You'll hear from Andrew Burnett. You'll hear from Fedor Svechkov. We'll check in with the voices, Max Hers and Hal Gill, who will have the call for you on Long Island coming up here in just a few minutes. Pete and Crispy's Corner is coming up next here on Smashville tonight here on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Pete and Terry, we are back with you. Predators going against the Islanders this afternoon at the UBS Arena. Now, we really know the Islanders. Terry and played on that first Islanders team in Nassau Coliseum. That was a special environment.
You know what it was, Petey? When I first got traded from the Blues to there, I said, Islanders, New York Islanders. I got to go to New York. I'm going to be caught in traffic. I'm going to get shot. They said, Crispy, you're going to the Islanders. So lo and behold, I'm an original Islander for their first year. Had all kinds of fun. Great guys. We'd all come from other teams, a couple of youngsters that were drafted, but it was just all of us knew that we were there to start hockey, to present hockey on the island. Well, no, was it the Ducks that were on there ahead of us?
They had been there at minor league
team was there. It was a fun start. I'm proud to be an original Islander.
Well, let's talk about this particular game that comes to mind right away. And it's one in where Carlos Grastinch, who was the first Predators entry draft pick to play for the team, who then in the third season scored the first 3-on-5 against goal in Predators history. And you remember, I referred to him after the goal as Bobby Grastinch because he was starting to put up the points.
3-on-5, we were shorthanded.
Yes, 2 men.
Fading right side. Drake it to Sean Bates. Poked away by Carlos Grastinch. Grastinch breaking down. 1-on-4, he scores! Bobby Grastinch scores! Shorthanded down 2 men.
He's a hero.
Yes.
But that's the one, though, Pete, you always said, I couldn't say his name. You said, just call him Sanks.
Yes.
Because he always, when he talked to you, he'd say, hey, Pete Weber, Sanks.
Yes.
For the shout out or whatever. So that's remembered by him. But think back on that. 3-on-5 in that early of our teams, and you pop one like that. And what a place to do it.
Yes.
In a madhouse like the Islanders had.
And also in that very same game, Thomas Vokoun had taken over in goal for the Predators, and he liked to wander every now and then. I mean, I did call him Evil Knievel for a reason. So he decided to go over to the right wing corner from his perspective to try to track down a loose puck. Then all of a sudden, he had to jet across and I think broke maybe Eric Heiden's speed skating records to get back in front of the net.
I got to give him full marks for realizing you'd screwed up. Number one, Pete, he never should have been over there to play the puck. And then when he realized that, hey, the puck wasn't going in the direction he wanted to, you're right. He got back. When he made that save, you and I both looked at each other, shook our heads, didn't say a word.
Right.
Because, as you call him, Evil Knievel was out and running again.
Yeah, and he was running big time. Now we're going to call upon your time with the Tampa Bay Lightning at the Nassau Coliseum. You had a defenseman with a 6-point game, Doug Crossman. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Dougie Crossman, he was one of those defensemen that I don't call him a Yossi, but very similar style to Yossi. Loved the puck, loved to go down ice, loved to get in the other end and get in the play. And if I'm not mistaken, and you remind me when we started this evening here, I think he got 2 goals and 4 assists, 6 points that
One
night.
game.
One game. Now, this is a brand new team,
Yes.
Tampa Bay Lightning, and that's unheard of.
You'd already had Chris Kontos with a hat trick on opening night.
Yeah, against Chicago Blackhawks,
Yeah.
which was great. Remember the guy threw his hat in the ice, one guy for it, and they threw him out of the rink.
Yeah.
But this night, Crossman set a record. It's probably been broken a few times now, but it was rather nice back then.
What did you do with him after that
I knew
game?
it. I knew you were going to ask me. You've been talking to Paul Kennedy down in Tampa. I think the next game at home, I don't think Dougie played that game. He didn't-
Coach's decision?
Well, I think I'm going to blame my trainer.
Okay.
It's easier to blame a trainer than to blame a coach. And I don't know what really led to that, but it was just one of those things that the team was evolving. But he said, Crispy, he gets 6 points. He doesn't dress the next night. I could hear a voice in the background said, yeah, but he didn't play defense.
So there we've talked about Carlos Grastinch scoring a 3-on-5 goal, and then Doug Crossman, a 6-point game for the Lightning at the Nassau Coliseum, a building both of us do miss.
And you know what? The thing I do miss, Pete, because they had the upstairs media thing, hardest place to get to for the lunch up there. And the menu was great, Pete, because I remember that we had chips in a bag and hot dogs.
Yes.
Did I forget anything?
No. Well, we had a choice of drinks.
Okay, thank you.
So I think it was, the beer to have when you're having more than one, a can of Schaefer. So that's the look back on this special edition. Pete and Terry about the Nassau Coliseum and the Preds versus the New York Islanders.
Max Hers with Pred Center, Fedor Svechkov before the game on Long Island against the Islanders. Fedor, it's a busy time. You guys have played a lot of games, just played 4 really good teams at home. Now you're on the road. What have these last few weeks been like since you guys got back from the Four Nations break?
It's just pretty exciting to start after All-Star break against these teams, and I think we show up that we can beat them, and we're a pretty competitive team, and I think it's a step forward for us that we can trust and believe in our win against really good teams.
How do you feel like you've played over these last 4 games?
So 2 games not really well, 2 games really well because we won 2 games and lose 2 games.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
This is your first time playing in New York.
Yeah.
What's it like being in New York and Long Island? Not quite the exciting part of New York, but being in the city and getting to play here.
I don't know. What's the difference between New York and Ottawa?
It's all the same to you.
I didn't watch in my mirror. Oh, I didn't watch in my window, so.
You guys are playing a back-to-back here, 3 games in 4 days.
Yeah.
What's important as you guys kind of emphasize your rest and things like that?
Just be professional, recover as a professional hockey players. So just part of our job that we play a lot of games. So it's really busy month for us, I think. And you just gotta stay, be professional just in recovery part. So, yeah.
You're going to go play your warm-up soccer here. Where do you rank best soccer players on the Preds?
Feels pretty good. Brady sometimes. Smitty pretty good, yeah. So I think I'm about top 7.
Okay, nice and modest. All right, go get him, Fedor. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Fedor Svechkov. Preds and Isles coming up next.
Welcome back in, Lee Company Nashville Predators pregame show. Robbie Stanley here with you in Nashville. And we head out to UBS Arena in New York and check in with the voices, Max Hers and Hal Gill. Gentlemen, a little bit of matinee hockey. Always a good day when we get that. How are things going out there?
Hi, Robbie. Yeah, we are on Long Island right now. We are watching Hal's daughter, Izzy, play lacrosse on the computer in New Jersey.
Nice.
So close, but so far away.
Yes, no doubt.
Max really enjoys a matinee, especially in New York City, because he barely made it to the bus. He just got in this morning, and as soon as this game is over, he's going back out, and he's just gonna play that wheel again. Spin the wheel again, buddy.
Just an absolute
I hope he makes
veteran.
it out of this trip alive.
An absolute veteran out there. So, Max, let's just start there. Lots of lineup things going on with the Predators right now. Where do we stand as warm-ups are underway?
So Gus Nyquist officially will not play for trade-related reasons. He has not been traded at this time, but he is being held out in anticipation of a trade. May not happen today per se, but sounds like Gus Nyquist has played his final game as a Pred ahead of the trade deadline on Friday. And Jake Lucchini is going to make his Preds debut. We saw him in preseason. He played for the Wild last year, has some solid numbers playing in the top 6 for the Admirals this year. Looks like Lucchini is going to play on the third line today with Fedor Svechkov and Colton Sissons to start. So Nyquist out, likely being traded away, and Lucchini in, looks like, for the Preds.
So, Hal, with that kind of in the backdrop there, this week in general, you've been through it before. It's got to be kind of a tough week. Explain for our listeners just kind of what this time of year is like when you know that there's a chance, if you're a veteran guy, especially in a situation like Nyquist with an expiring contract, and you could be on the move.
Yeah, it's tough. It's one of probably the hardest thing to go through as a player is just that uncertainty of, is this my team for the rest of the season, or am I going to go and have to try to make 20 new best friends? And it's uneasy. And I tell you, I've gone through it. I was traded twice at the deadline, and also I've been threatened to be traded and never did. And so you don't want to be like, screw you guys, I'm out of here, because then you don't move. And you also don't want to be like, hey, I want to get traded, because you want to stay with your buddies. And I feel like I feel for Gus, because I know he loves this team and he loves these guys. The winning wasn't there, and so things have to change. But it's not an easy thing to go through. And then there's young guys that are sitting there going, I've never been through this. I don't know how this goes. And you try to manage it the best you can, and try to follow the leaders and say, hey, we still got to go out and play a game. We one of our best friends just moved on, but we got a game to play, and we got to be a pro about it.
Yeah, it's a wild time of year. Max Hers, Hal Gill on the call in New York in anticipation for some matinee hockey. The Predators and the Islanders coming up at UBS Arena. We'll have your lineups, your starting goaltenders for the Preds and the Islanders. Coming up next, you'll have final words from Andrew Burnett before puck drop here on the Lee Company Nashville Predators pregame show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Preds taking on the Islanders this morning in Long Island. Here's your lineup for the Predators today. Philip Forsberg skating with Ryan O'Reilly and Jonathan Marchessault in the warm-up, so that will be your top line for Nashville today. Again, Gus Nyquist out for trade-related reasons. So Nyquist reuniting with O'Reilly and Forsberg the other night against Winnipeg. He will not play today due to trade-related reasons for the Predators. A second line of Tommy Novak, Steven Stamkos, and Luke Evangelista. Jake Lucchini making his Predators debut today. He'll skate with Fedor Svechkov and Colton Sissons. Kiefer Bellows, Michael McCarron, and Cole Smith rounding things out in the forward group for the Predators. Brady Shea, Nick Blankenberg, the top pair on defense. Mark Del Gaizo with Luke Shin, and Andreas Englund skating with Justin Barron. UC Saros will start in net today for the Nashville Predators, and that would presume to stand to reason that Justus Anand will be in net tomorrow as the Predators take on the New York Rangers. So a back-to-back set. Predators getting ready for 3 games in 4 days here beginning today against the Islanders. Roman Josi, an update from the Predators that was thrown out there a few minutes ago. He is week to week with his upper body injury. So he has been evaluated the past few days. He did not play against Winnipeg on Thursday after taking a hit from behind from Sam Bennett against Florida on Tuesday night. And Josi will be out week to week with his upper body injury. So that's where things stand with the captain and on the lineup front for the Predators heading into this game. For the Islanders, Lee, Horvat, and Duclair forming the top line. Holmstrom, Nelson, and Palmieri in line 2. Cizikas, Pajot, and Fashing, the third line for the Islanders. And Engvall, McLean, and Gak on the fourth line for the New York Islanders. On defense, Romanov and D'Angelo on the top pairing. Pelech and Noah Dobson on pairing number 2. And Boquist and Pulak pairing number 3. Ilya Sorokin will get the start in goal for the New York Islanders today. So 2 of the game's top goaltenders over the past few years. Saros, big performance the other night against Winnipeg. Sorokin, 21, 18, and 4 this year, a 276 goals against average, a 905 save percentage. So when you start to go around the league and you ask people to name off your top 5, top 7 goalies over the last few years, both these guys probably going to be included on that list. So we'll see who gets the better of the goaltending matchup today. Preds looking to score as many goals as possible. If they do so in the last 5 minutes of the second period, it's the Twice Daily Golden Goal. All fans can present the offer located on the Twice Daily app to receive a made-to-order sausage biscuit the next day only. It's available at any Middle Tennessee Twice Daily location. So keep things in mind on that. It is funny, when visiting media comes in here, the Predators do what I think is awesome and just put up a nice picture of a Twice Daily biscuit on the screen for the last 5 minutes of the second period. And you'll have visiting media members coming in and saying, hey, there's a biscuit on the Jumbotron. What's that about? Well, I'll tell you what it's about. It's the Twice Daily Golden Goal. So keep an eye on that today if the Predators are able to get that done. Interested to see, how kind of the lineup shift here affects things today. Number 1, Jake Lucchini coming in. Stamkos in the middle again with Novak and Evangelista. They had moved Stamkos back to the wing when he was playing with Fedor Svechkov. And, of course, he would still take a pretty large number of faceoffs. But we'll see what that looks like with Novak, who I think really over the last 3-4 weeks has played the best hockey of his season for sure. And he found his way onto the score sheet again the other night with a power play goal. They wanted Novak to be that center iceman with Stamkos and Marchessault to begin the year, and it just never really worked. But since moving to the wing, has he kind of found a better spot for him? Can he unlock something with Stamkos and Evangelista today? We talked with Russell Vanozzi earlier in the show. Really important for Stamkos to get going here on an 11-game pointless streak, which is the longest streak of his career. So you would love to see Stamkos pick it up here offensively, and maybe today's lineup shuffling the way to go. Without Josi the other night, it certainly wasn't perfect. Like the Predators did not play a perfect defensive game against the Jets. I thought they battled. I thought they really battled the other night with no Josi and no Willsby and no Lazan back there on defense. It's been a tough go of things for that group defensively, and Andrew Burnett has not been shy about it. They're working through a lot back there. They're not in the spot they want to be on defense, and they've got some young guys that they're trying to get acclimated into the lineup, and they've had some injuries. I thought those guys battled against the Jets, and they talked after the game. Forsberg was talking about that's what it's going to take. That's the way it's going to have to be the rest of the year. It's going to require a compete level. It's going to require an effort level that is unwavering on a nightly basis. So we'll see if the Predators can keep that up again today with their defense corps. And Mark Del Gaizo, I thought, played a nice game, did a nice job stepping in after spending a large portion of this season in Milwaukee after making the team originally out of camp. So we'll see what Del Gaizo has in store again today. You'll hear from Predators head coach Andrew Brunette coming up next. You're on the League Company Nashville Predators pregame show. You're on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Maxers on Long Island with Preds coach Andrew Brunette before the game against the Islanders. Bruno, you guys able to split the 4-game homestand against some really good teams. How do you feel about your team as you hit the road here?
Well, we should feel pretty good about ourselves. I thought, obviously we got a little upside in the New Jersey game, but I thought actually probably our best overall game besides giving up free offense. But I thought the other 3 games we played a kind of a checking mentality. We didn't give up a whole lot. Our penalty killing was good, and we had great goaltending, and it's a recipe to win.
You guys killed off a minute 54 of 3-on-5 time with 2 really good penalty killers in the box too. What was it like to have that come through and see some major momentum for your team?
Yeah, obviously it was the turning point of the game for us, especially against the best power play in the league, to go 5-on-3 like that and have those guys step up. And they did a tremendous job, and they gave us opportunity to go in the third period and have a chance to win a game, and they finished the job at the start of the third. That was probably the turn point of the game.
The busy schedule continues here, 3 road games in 4 days. How are you feeling about your team physically, a week separated from the break here?
Yeah, it's a lot of hockey against really good teams. I think we expended quite a bit of energy in each game. I thought our commitment level was high every game, and we were inspired. I mean, we played hard hockey. We got some results, and against really good teams. So hopefully we feel pretty good about ourselves. And it's a little bit different time zone. Obviously losing an hour, it's a 12:30 game. We haven't played too many of these, so again, in these games, it's the team that comes out ready to play usually gets a win. So hopefully you get out ready to go.
What stood out to you most about UC Saros' play since the Four Nations?
I think he's played really well. Looked like juice. I think he battled through a little bit of adversity. And for me, when you see him, especially, I thought during the penalty kills seemed to ignite him a little bit. I thought he wasn't quite as sharp early, but I thought once the penalty kill, he made some big saves and he took off. And when you see him dialed in like that, chances are nobody's going to score on him, and he proved that last night.
Islanders are the final team you guys haven't played yet this season. What is it like coaching against your old nemesis, Patrick Waugh?
I think it's it's going to be a hard game. They don't give you a whole lot. It's kind of the Islander way here for a while, and we came in here last year and I thought we played one of our best games. We didn't really get to the inside, so we're gonna have to find a way to get to the inside. They're big defensemen for us to have an opportunity to score offensively, and I think defensively take that checking mentality that we've had of late and do the same thing to them, where let's leave them on the outside.